first thing that I want to talk about today is sanitation. I believe that if you're making end products that somebody's putting on their skin, on their body, and that is being absorbed through the skin, you have to have the most sanitary conditions that you can possibly come up with in order to make those products. People have historically made fun of me for being OCD, but when it comes to this line of work, that is really important. So what I do is I formulate my skincare products, and I do all my infusions and bottle my infusions in my kitchen. I want my kitchen where food is, where messes are made, to be absolutely spotless at all times. Now, of course, when I'm cooking, I try to clean up as I'm cooking. I clean up after I'm done cooking. And for the rest of the time, I try to make sure that it's absolutely clean. In order to make sure that your equipment, your products, your jars, everything is absolutely the highest sanitation quality that it can be, there are a few important things to do. The first thing is to introduce as little as possible into your environment when you're making products. So what I do is I go around, and after the night is through, before I go to bed every single night, I come downstairs, I hit all of my counters, my stovetops, my sink, everything with a solution of disinfectant and anything that I can think of that's going to make everything clean and nice. The next day, I do it again. And what I do when I go through is I take a paper towel, and after I have rubbed something down, usually with a bleach solution or a disinfectant solution, I take a paper towel and I put it on top of that. Because when you're working, and this is really important to know, in every stage of making your formulas, you will find that you are interrupted, or you will say, oh, I forgot this. And things happen. This happens when you're weighing things out, this happens when you're formulating, and this happens when you're sanitizing. So what I do is I go through and I will put a paper towel on top of the stove, a paper towel on top of the food processor, a paper towel on top of my mixer, a paper towel on top of my coffee maker, after I have washed everything down. And on each counter, what I do is I put, this is butcher paper. I get it in big rolls. I usually buy it on eBay. So I get this butcher paper, and every time I clean a counter, and I take things off. Normally there's a bread counter on this counter, and I take it off. And this is the counter that I usually do most of my work on. But even with the other counters, as soon as I wash them down and I dry them off, I put a piece of butcher paper on top of it. When I do my recipe, I bring my book down, I hold my book in my hand, and I write on this piece of paper what the recipe is and put the book away. Because I carry that book around with me all the time. Whenever I'm on the computer, whenever I'm thinking, and I'm jotting things down. So that book is not exactly sanitary. So I bring it down, hold it in my hand, write things down, and when I put it away, and then I change my gloves. I change my gloves a lot. And what I do is I have different color gloves, and I try to change into another color so that if I'm absent-minded, confused, get sidetracked, I can look and I can say, oh, I have blue gloves on. When did I put these on? I don't remember. I need a new pair of gloves. Okay, let me go with purple. So I know that I've changed gloves. If I have blue gloves on, I only use blue gloves. I'm like, what? I don't know. So anyway, and I also try to take my gloves and I try to put them to the side so that if I write out my recipe and I come down and I go to put on a new pair of gloves, the old gloves are sitting over here in a bag. I have a small size garbage bag that I put over here. And if I start working and there's no gloves in the bag, I know that I haven't changed my gloves since I had it all over the dirty recipe book. So I do things like that, and I suggest that you do things like that because it's really, really important. I know that a lot of people don't like harsh ingredients in their end products, and I don't either. So what I'm about to say, your mileage may vary, but I hope you find something that's equal. When I'm disinfecting all of my equipment that I'm going to use for the next product, not for the day, just for the next product, and I do this for every single product at the beginning, I do a solution of boiling water and a little bit of bleach. I put bleach in so that I know that it's clean. And I know that a lot of people find that bleach is too harsh. I happen to be addicted to bleach. I just know that it takes care of mold, fungus, all kinds of things. So I do use bleach, and I use it when I clean all of my products. And I don't use that much, but I use it. So the next thing I do is I get an aluminum pot that I only use for cleaning my products. I fill it with distilled water, which might be, a bit of overkill. Let it boil for at least 20 minutes. Put some bleach into it, just a little bit. You don't have to put a lot. And then I put in my tongs, my spatulas, the spatulas that won't melt. Some spatulas will melt in boiling water. And my jars, my glass jars, don't put plastic jars in boiling water. Sometimes if you get the double-walled jars, you can put them in the boiling water, but you have to take them apart because otherwise water can get in between the two walls. So that's very important, because if that water stays in between those two walls, you're going to have mold and bacteria growth. So if you use double-walled jars, make sure that you take them apart when you put them in the water and dry both parts completely before snapping them back together. All my lids, everything that could possibly go in boiling water without being destroyed gets to be in the boiling water. And I hold it for 20 minutes. Some people, there's a big controversy over heat and hold. Do you have to do 20 minutes? Do you not have to do 20 minutes? I do 20 minutes, even though it's distilled water, even though there's some controversy about heat and hold, I still do it. So that's step number 2. Step number 3 is that when I'm ready to start making my formula, I put my hair up and I wear a mask. And this is another thing. I have masks in a few different colors. It's not as important as the gloves to change your mask and make sure that you've got different colors, because your mask isn't touching anything but your face. So if you've got it covered up, that's good. But I do have a few different colors of masks, and I do keep them out when I'm making them. Not the whole box. Again, you want as little as possible introduced into your environment. So I'll take out like 5 masks, like 3 of one color, 2 of another, or 6, 3 and 3. But you definitely want your hair up, you want your mask on, and if you're making things that have dangerous ingredients like soap, like you're making lye, you want to put on goggles. I don't wear goggles when I'm making soap. I don't wear goggles when I make anything. It steams up my glasses. I find it really difficult, but I'm aware of the fact that my glasses do not keep my eyes as safe as goggles will. So if you're going to go without the goggles, you should make sure that you are aware of how extra carefully you have to be to keep things out of your eye. You never want to get anything into your eyes, and I pretty much don't have to tell you that. The next thing is what I call alcohol, alcohol, alcohol. If you don't want to use bleach, and even if you do, it's a good idea, and I do this, before I put on the butcher paper, I go around and I spritz all of my countertops, most of my utensils with alcohol. When I'm working, as I'm working, I spritz things constantly with alcohol and I dry them off. When I'm at the last stage of making my product and mixing it, I alcohol my entire mixer. And I alcohol the bowl, even though the bowl has been, it's a glass bowl, it's been in the bleach solution, it's perfectly sanitary, but right before I pour in the ingredients, I alcohol the bowl again. Then I alcohol the spoon that I use and the jars that they're going in, because a lot of my jars are plastic and they will melt, so they haven't been in the bleach solution, so I alcohol them. When I put the alcohol, when I put the product in the jar with the alcohol spoon into the alcoholed jars, I put them all open with the lid. I spritz the lid again with alcohol right before I close it, and when I close it, I change my gloves and I alcohol the tips of my gloves, so that it's as sanitary as it could possibly be before that product is closed. So that's something that's really important. Remember those words: alcohol, alcohol, alcohol. AAA, not to fix your car. AAA. So the next thing that I want to talk about is preservatives, because this whole topic makes me crazy. I do not have animal products in my products. I try to keep my palm oil consumption to a minimum. But when I'm looking at products that use palm oil, like stearic acid, I write to the manufacturer and I ask them, do you use RSPO palm oil? If I don't get an answer, or the answer is no, or I don't know, I don't use that manufacturer of stearic acid, because while I don't use any straight palm oil, I do realize that some of my products contain palm oil, and there's no way to get this product without it containing palm oil. So I want to be as environmentally responsible as I can be. I'm also going to talk about containers, because I try to use the minimum of plastic jars as I can. I use a lot of plastic bale jars, and I understand that they're much more expensive. They're like twice the cost of a regular plastic jar. But I find them to be environmentally friendly because people don't throw them out. I offer a couple of different solutions for people with their products. I offer the bale jar, the plastic jar, and a paper cup, an ice cream paper cup. If you order from me more than once, which you should, you can order the bale jar, wash it out, don't put it in the dishwasher because they'll melt. Wash it out as best as you can, alcohol it, and then if you order the paper next time, you could just refill the jar. I find that people don't throw out the bale jars, so I offer the paper cups free of charge to try to encourage people. Order the bale jar the first time, order the paper cup the next time. If you order just the paper cup the first time, it will last in your shower, and I've done testing of this. So unless you are drowning it in water every single time, you could probably make it last for an 8-ounce cup, probably make it last for about a month. But I still prefer that people don't use the paper as their only solution, because they do curl up, they do fray, and it just looks like unsightly. There's nothing really wrong with it, but it's not protecting your product as much as it can, and it can look kind of like, oh, it's all frayed. And I've used them, where at the end of the use, which is about a month, it still looks fine. But just to let you know about the environmentally friendly, I use jojoba beads, not jojoba microbeads. Microbeads are plastic. They are bad for the environment. So I use a wide range of exfoliants in my scrubs. And I only use jojoba beads. I do not use jojoba microbeads, and you'll see that on the website. Preservatives. There are preservatives like Optifen that are paraben-free, formaldehyde-forming free, and they work great. You have to know how to use Optifen because it can destabilize your emulsifications, and most of my products are emulsified. So you have to know exactly how to use it. I've heard that you can use it under 140 degrees Fahrenheit, but I find that under 120 is better, and right under 120, like 118, 119. That's where I add Optifen, and I haven't had a problem with destabilizing my emulsifications. I will also use Germel, Germabin, and Phenonip, and they have a variety of different properties that is not as environmentally friendly as Optifen, but I find that there are some applications where I need those other preservatives. Vitamin E goes into every single one of my products, no matter what. Vitamin E is not a preservative. It's an antioxidant. It helps extend the life of your product, but it's not a preservative. I use GSE in a lot of my products, grapefruit seed extract. It is an antioxidant. It's not even a great antioxidant as far as I'm concerned, but it's not a preservative. I use rosemary extract. In my oils, I open up short shelf life oils like grapeseed oil and sunflower oil, both terrific oils to use, and I add the rosemary extract when I open the bottle. If you add it later, it's not really going to be able to do its thing. It's to prevent rancidity, not to combat it once it's started. So it extends the life of some oils like sunflower and grapeseed, two of my favorite oils to use, that are very light, very nice, very nourishing, but they have a shorter shelf life. So the minute I open a bottle of sunflower or grapeseed, I add the rosemary extract. Rosemary extract is not a preservative. It's an antioxidant. It extends the life of your product. When I do my infusions, I add vitamin E. All my sunflower grapeseed oil already has rosemary oleoresin, so there's no preservatives in there. There's antioxidants, but no preservatives. If you want a product with no preservatives, you gotta go someplace else because I don't believe in it. Like I said, I'm OCD. I think that mold, mildew, yeast, bacteria is disgusting and it's harmful to your health, much more harmful than any paraben-containing preservative could ever be. So I will never, ever, ever, ever sell anything except soap without a preservative, and my bar soap, not my liquid soap. So all of my products have preservative. My go-to preservative is Optifen, but I will use other preservatives sometimes. You have to have a preservative in your products that are going in the bathroom. And some of my facial serums, unless they contain water or aloe vera juice, they will not contain a preservative if it's just oils. But if it's a short life oil or it's got any amount of water in it, it gets a preservative. So I suggest that if you're making this, if you're following along with sanitation, you make a decision that you're going to use preservatives. If not, you have to be very upfront about it, and you have to let people. Mold and mildew and bacteria starts growing within 30 minutes of making your product. 30 minutes. You can't see it for a long time, but it's there. If you want to slather bacteria on your skin, that's up to you. It's not up to me. But I suggest that you don't do that. I suggest you use a product with a preservative.